और अध्यक्ष जी देखिए मजा इस डिबेट का कि फील्डिंग विपक्ष ने ऑर्गेनाइज की, लेकिन चौके छक्के यहीं से लगे। और विपक्ष नो कॉन्फिडेंस मोशन पे नो बॉल नो बॉल पर ही करते आगे चलता जा रहा है। इधर से सेंचुरी हो रही है, उधर से नो बॉल हो रहे हैं। अविश्वास प्रस्ताव हमारी सरकार का फ्लोर टेस्ट नहीं है, मैंने उस दिन कहा था, बल्कि ये उन्हीं का फ्लोर टेस्ट है, ये मैंने उस दिन भी कहा। विपक्ष का अविश्वास प्रस्ताव हमारे लिए शुभ होता है। एनडीए और बीजेपी 2024 के चुनाव में पुराने सारे रिकॉर्ड तोड़ करके भव्य विजय के साथ जनता के आशीर्वाद से वापस आएंगे। देश की जनता ने जिस काम के लिए उनको यहां भेजा है, उस जनता का भी विश्वासघात किया गया है। उन्होंने सिद्ध कर दिया कि देश से ज्यादा उनके लिए दल है। आपको गरीब के भूख की चिंता नहीं है, सत्ता की भूख, यही आपके दिमाग पे सवार है। आपको देश के युवाओं के भविष्य की परवाह नहीं है, आपको अपने राजनीतिक भविष्य की चिंता है।
Hello and welcome. This was by far the longest speech by anyone while presenting or while speaking in a motion of no confidence. Only yesterday there was a record set by Home Minister Amit Shah. The speech was 2 hours and 5 minutes long, and the Prime Minister surpassed that as well in a matter of a day. While records have been set, the original idea behind bringing a motion of no confidence by the opposition was to make the Prime Minister speak on the floor of the House on the issue of Manipur. And by the way, today is the 100th day of when the violence began in Manipur on the 3rd of May. There is relative peace and calm on the streets, but very many security personnel as well. 100 days later, this matter reached Parliament. So in other words, what happened was that the opposition set a field, a cricket field. They had their players in place. A few weeks ago, we did a program right here where we said that is this a Bazigar moment for the opposition? That the opposition knows that it will lose in the numbers game, but it will win because it will get the Prime Minister to speak on Manipur on the floor of the House. The attempt was to put the Prime Minister in the dock. But has the BJP in this Shatranj ka game, or on this cricket field where the fielding was set, has done a nehle pe dehla? Obviously, because of their increased numbers, they got more time. And using that opportunity, has the BJP launched its 2024 political campaign, while the opposition wanted the focus to be only and only on Manipur. Let's quickly, because the Prime Minister himself used the cricket analogy that you said the fielding, we were hitting the sixes. We are furthering that cricket analogy with the help of this graphic presentation right here on screen. So, Modi's hits versus the opposition's fielding. You see, the field has been set by the opposition, and Narendra Modi and his men and women decided to do the hitting. So how was the fielding set? Let's start one by one. So this is Rahul Gandhi. In the fielding, Rahul Gandhi said that the BJP divided Manipur into two. The Prime Minister has not visited Manipur. it doesn't consider Manipur as a part of India, can send the army to end violence but won't. From Haryana to Manipur, the government is sprinkling kerosene across India. Now, this was a very targeted and sharp attack by Rahul Gandhi on the issue of Manipur. He also spoke on the Bharat Jodo Yatra, saying that the Bharat Jodo Yatra is not over. I walked to understand India. I understood what I loved, what I am willing to die for, and India is a voice which cannot be silenced. So this was the opposition's fielding, and the biggest showcase for the opposition, Rahul Gandhi, spoke, and this was the fielding which was set. But the first person who came out to bat, and of course very many people did, but the first person yesterday who came out to bat from the Treasury benches was Home Minister Amit Shah. He wanted to speak on the issue of Manipur, but the opposition insisted that there should be a no trust motion where the Prime Minister should speak. So Amit Shah went first in this Sansad showdown, and he said the no trust motion was brought to create confusion. Trust motions reveal the true face of coalitions. So as you can see, that while he did speak on Manipur, and we will get to that in just a short moment, Amit Shah opened this up because in a no trust vote, you can talk about anything. So he utilized his time to talk about other things as well, i.e. converting it into an election forum, raising the pitch. Next point, verdicts before 2014 on corruption as well as divisive politics. Prime Minister Modi, he says, pioneered the politics of performance. New era of development after 2014. India is the bright spot in the world economy. UPA protects those in power, but NDA fights to protect principles. Now, this is the point that he made about his own government. What did the opposition want to do? The fielding was set on the issue of Manipur. And using the no confidence motion, because it was not specifically on Manipur, Home Minister Amit Shah spoke about other things as well. And this was number one on his government's performance. Number two, he spoke about what the government did for Kalavati. If you recall, Kalavati is a lady who Rahul Gandhi mentioned in his speech way back in 2008. So that was brought again in public discourse by the Home Minister. He says all facilities to Kalavati were given by the Modi government. Now this is a point which the opposition or the Congress party has challenged as well. On the cricket field, with the fielding of Manipur, came another batting by Amit Shah. He says people have full trust in Prime Minister Modi. Rahul has been launched 13 times and he has failed. So as you can see, the pitch has been raised beyond Manipur. He then says the Prime Minister, and takes this beyond Manipur to Kashmir. The Prime Minister began a new era in Kashmir. No talks with the Hurriyat, Jamaat, nor Pakistan. Talks only with the youth of the valley. And then he comes to Manipur after this little prelude. He says, it is shameful to play politics on Manipur. We are ready for discussion, but the opposition wouldn't let me speak. Now, of course, he's referring to the original proposal of the government that you get the Home Minister to comment on the situation in Manipur, an appeal which the opposition rejected because they wanted the Prime Minister to speak. Home Minister Amit Shah says there's a long history of violence in Manipur. The Prime Minister woke me up at 6 a.m. over the Manipur clash. We're holding talks for the peace in Manipur. So that was the batting which was done on the opposition's fielding by Home Minister Amit Shah. Just a short moment ago, on this very same fielding which was set by the opposition on the issue of Manipur, but, and I'm repeating this again, but in a no trust vote, the government and the Prime Minister no less tried to create this as an Aapada Mein Afsar, broadened the scope of the discussion, and in a fairly long speech, he started off by saying that this is not our floor test, this is their floor test. There is no trust motion because these people are lucky for us. You know, the sort of the commentary of the Prime Minister was very clearly addressed to a constituency ahead of the elections. And you can also call it a pre-election speech. And why do I say this? You will soon know. He then said NDA and BJP will break all poll records. The more opposition attacks me, the more I succeed. The Prime Minister predicted another opposition-led trust vote in 2028. He then says that the India alliance is new paint on an old failed machine. And that's a very significant point, that he says that this name, INDIA, is actually NDA with two I's. I means I, me. So that was the correlation that he drew. He says Congress has a history of tearing apart India, and the same they've done in the abbreviation called I.N.D.I.A. So as you can see again, the fielding was set on Manipur, and the hits were way beyond Manipur, because in a no trust vote, you can actually talk about anything. And in a no trust vote, where the government has a majority, an overarching majority of 336 MPs, you see what happens is that the time to speak is allotted proportionate to the number of MPs that you have. With more MPs, the BJP got more time. They spoke more, and they spoke about very many things. The Prime Minister then says the opposition set the fielding, and that's where he used the cricket analogy, which we are extending right here on this show. The opposition set the fielding, the government hit the sixes. Opposition kept saying no ball, we hit the century. He then says party over nation for the opposition. For them, it is party over the nation. Opposition is power hungry, have given a scam-free government. Now, this is something which has repeatedly been challenged by the opposition. He says the Congress declared banks of this country dead. We cleared the non-performing assets, or the NPAs. The Congress believed in Pakistan, not Kashmiris. Earlier, terrorists used to kill, they did not act. All these points that were made. While up to this moment, for about, his speech was about 2 hours and 15 minutes, till that point, he had not spoken on Manipur. And the moment the opposition walked out is when the Prime Minister started speaking about Manipur. So there was a mention in the Prime Minister's speech on Manipur, but by then, the opposition had walked out. And this too was used by the government as an opportunity to say that they do not want to discuss Manipur, and they want to run away from the Manipur debate, that they did not have the patience to listen to the discourse on Manipur. So in this game of cricket, because the Prime Minister used a cricket analogy, so have we, with an opposition's fielding in a no trust vote on the issue of Manipur, with the intention that they will corner the government on Manipur, and with the government and their batting, what is your assessment on who has scored better? I think the jury is still out on this. Let's quickly go across to our reporters. In just a short moment, we'll have them on screen, Megha Prasad as well as Sunil Prabhu. Megha, if you can hear me? Can Megha hear me? Okay, we're going to go back to Megha in just a short moment, but Sanjay Singh is a senior journalist as well as Aarti Jera. Thank you very much to the two of you. Mr. Sanjay Singh, to you first. Do you feel that the idea behind this, and we've done this discussion right here on the channel, that the idea of the opposition coming up with a no trust vote was to corner the Prime Minister and the government on the issue of Manipur, to get him inside Parliament, because the allegation was that he's shying away. And because this was not a specific discussion on Manipur, the government used its extended strength and thus more allotted time to talk about many issues and not just Manipur.
Yet we have discussed this issue before. I think the opposition strategy, it was a flawed strategy. And I have said this before, I say it again, that by moving no confidence motion, they had given a huge advantage to Prime Minister Modi. In fact, this was a boon for the BJP and Prime Minister Modi to come out with what you can say that sounding the bugle for 2024 election, because nation was going to be glued to no confidence motion. Also, Prime Minister's response, which was to come, incidentally, this was 3 day long, 3 day long no confidence motion debate. Now, why I say so? I said this was a self goal for the Congress and their alliance. this was what you call in Hindi ki kulhari pe pav marna. This was something like that. Because no confidence motion, you don't mention particular subject. You talk of anything and everything. Barring Gaurav Gogoi, nobody actually touched Manipur issue in detail. It was just in passing from the leaders in opposition benches. And therefore, when you move that, and Amit Shah yesterday clarified, you don't understand meaning of no confidence motion. When you move this motion, you should be ready to discuss everything. And Prime Minister today said you lost your chance, because when Manipur was to be discussed, it was to be focused on Manipur, but you did not allow so. And so today, when you move no confidence motion, and he said कि ये भगवान का वरदान है, भगवान बहुत दयालु हैं. He went on to say the God was magnanimous. He made you move no confidence motion, and therefore give us an opportunity to talk about a whole lot of things, an opportunity which otherwise we did not have. We could not have got. And he was so forthright about that. And on Manipur, both Prime Minister and Home Minister explained things. I slightly differ with this thing, Apada mein avsar, because this avsar was given, there was no Apada as such for the government. Manipur, of course, is a very, very serious situation out there. And if you refer to Manipur about that, then perhaps it's okay. But
okay, Mr. Singh, I'm going to come back to you. Let's get in a view from Ms. Aarti Jairath also. Ms. Jairath, do you feel that this was a case where the opposition set the field? In a way, they staged an event which, this was a stage which was set up for the government to appear and give a photo finish. I mean, I understand. Remember, you and I were part of a debate where we were saying that whether this is a Bazigar moment, they will know they will lose and yet they will win because they will get the Prime Minister to speak. But when the Prime Minister started speaking on Manipur, which was a very delayed intervention, about 1 hour 40 minutes later, the opposition, particularly the Congress, walked out. So what message does this send?
Well, Sanket, there are several things here. I think the opposition should have realized that the BJP, particularly Prime Minister Modi, would use this to kick off his election campaign. He did this in 2018. He was bound to do it again now. And he's very good at it. Also, there's no limit to the amount of time the Prime Minister gets. So he can speak on and on and on and on, which is something that the opposition does not have. So to have expected to corner the government on Manipur was, I think, a pipe dream. What the opposition did say was that this was going to be a battle of perception. It was not a battle of numbers, it's a battle of perception. In which case, they should have also come prepared with the narrative for the forthcoming elections. But I did not see that narrative or hear that narrative in anybody's speeches. They were just attacking the government, from all sides on all kinds of issues. But what was the narrative that they were making or crafting, which would form the basis for their platform, which would be the platform on which they would go to people next year? That did not come out at all. And so actually, I think the opposition, I don't know what field they said, whatever field they said, it was clearly all wrong, because the BJP used that field very, very cleverly to launch its election campaign, while the opposition failed to launch its election campaign.
Do you feel that as the first big attempt to prove their might as INDIA alliance, this was a bit of a weak start for the opposition?
A very weak start. I mean, they had the opportunity, to actually kick off an election campaign, which they failed to do. And they had no narrative except for attacking the government on Manipur, price rise, this, that, the other, all acne topics, we know about it. Also, the only thing I will say is that the fact that Manipur has got so much attention, because of that video, because of Parliament, two things have happened. One is that I think there is a national consciousness now about Manipur, and Manipur is no longer seen as something very distant, far away in the northeast. It has become part of the national discourse. which I think is a huge, it's a huge thing that has happened because, mainstream India tends to ignore, the edges of India.
Yeah.
The second thing is that because Manipur has been so much in focus, I think the government has now got active. And they are actually now moving to try
So that is
and bring some
that you would
peace.
say in terms of nationalizing the discourse around Manipur, which the government would rather have people forgotten.
That's right. So at least now
this
there's
is
some
one
action happening in Manipur. The fact that the Home Minister met the Kuki groups, appealed for peace, discussed
Yeah, that
mass
was-
burials. They
and
were
you
able
feel
to
that
put their problems.
that could largely be because of the sustained pressure built by the opposition.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. So
But
on
Mr.
the issue of Manipur outside Parliament,
Yeah.
they were actually able to exert the kind
But
of
Mr.
pressure
Sanjay
that was
Singh,
needed.
my final question to you, don't you think it is extremely unfortunate that political point scoring, both from the government side as well as the opposition, on what did you do, what did you, what is happening in your state, what you did in Manipur many years ago, and all of this on the floor of the House is extremely unfortunate. It's political point scoring on a very disturbing, terrifying situation. People have died in Manipur.
Sanket, I think no solution can be found if you are not aware, or at least you don't want to recognize historicity and root of the problem. If you simply go by the current situation and do something and say something and not talking about and not understanding the situation which existed in the past, and because of which certain situation have emerged, if you say you don't talk about why the High Court gave
No, one
this
moment,
kind of a
Mr.
judgment.
Sanjay Singh, when Corona happened, the point that was being made by the government is that this is not the time. You can blame us later, let us do the firefighting. I am extending the same argument here. Why should this be the time for politics, either from the
Corona-
treasury or the opposition
Absolutely.
benches?
Sanket,
You douse that
Corona-
fire
Corona-
first.
Can I say something?
And political
Corona-
point
The
scoring
need-
on both
the
sides.
Need of the hour,
No,
I'm sorry,
Sanket,
Sanjay.
Sanket, if you
need
give
of the
something on
hour
platter to
was-
the government,
the need
to
of
take
the hour
to get a
was
6
to
or a
restore
4.
So
peace
you,
in Manipur.
no, one by one, please. So you agree that the government too made this political, just like the opposition. It became, Manipur
here was
became about
political.
political point scoring.
What happened here was political. So therefore it had to be political.
Okay.
What happened here was political. What was happening was political. The incident,
Sure.
the situation happening, there was a security situation out there.
Okay.
The security situation was being dealt, but when the situation, the speakers here are political, obviously a political response was to be given.
Okay. I think based on the assessment by the experts over here, Ms. Jairat, my apologies because we've run out of time, but I'm sure we'll get an opportunity to talk about this in the future also. Based on the assessment of the experts here, it clearly appears that the purpose behind bringing a no confidence motion did not really go in favor of the INDIA alliance. In fact, it ended up helping the government even more as they got disproportionate amount of time to say much more than Manipur and perhaps even launching their 2024 election campaign. Good night and goodbye.